all my friends. This is Ragini and welcoming you to the brand new health show. Health is wealth. Health is wealth or not. You guys know better than me. And that is why Mana TV presents one more great episode with health. We are always concerned about our health. We always want to know a lot of things regarding that. And that is why we have the best person right here, right now, Dr. Naveen Mehrotra, who is the owner of My Whole Child Pediatrics. And we are going to talk to him every week to know more about ourselves. So Naveen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ragini. It's a pleasure to be here and to try to talk to our viewers.
Absolutely, and we're going to talk about so many things regarding health. And actually, today's topic is somewhere really exciting for me because as we discussed about the health and the insurance plan here.
I think it's a lot broader than that.
Yes.
Because what ends up happening is you say health is wealth, you should access the healthcare system, but we really don't know how to navigate the healthcare system.
Totally.
And especially if we're coming straight from India or any of the outside countries, we're so flustered because we don't know where to go.
What to do.
And what to do.
Yeah.
And we're like lost.
Yeah.
So we figured we would start the series like this.
Absolutely. And I mean, regarding that, I would like to ask you that what do you think that what are the things we should discuss today and how we should start and to let our viewers know that, hey, we're with you?
I think we're going to do a general overview.
Okay.
So it's called Basics 101 of understanding the healthcare system.
Sure.
We will open it up for questions for people as they might see fit.
Yeah.
And we'll try to get to some of the questions that they have.
Absolutely.
Trying the different aspects of what the healthcare system involves.
Yeah.
You know, seeing a doctor, going to the hospital, going to the lab, looking at health insurance plans that are offered by your job or offered through the government, and it is so vast.
Absolutely.
The topic is so vast, and that's what we're going to be talking about.
So explain a little bit about that. What are the types of the services?
Okay, so as I touched upon, right,
Yeah.
the services are the doctor's office. That's what we call the provider, healthcare provider, right? So you go to many different doctors. You might have something called a primary care physician. You might have a specialist. That's just what you do on a day-to-day basis. You know, little things here and there, you go to the doctor's office. Then if it's a lot more urgent, more serious, you might end up going to the urgent care center.
Yeah.
If something is a lot more serious, then you may end up going to the hospital. You might go to the emergency room in the hospital. And if you have to actually get admitted, then you end up in the hospital. Now, once you're leaving the hospital, if you don't get cured, you might have to go to a long-term facility.
Yeah.
Okay? And God forbid the end, right? So we don't want to get to that way as well.
Yeah.
But these are the type of things that you have to think about because every aspect of the healthcare system has a different financial obligation from you and how the plan covers it.
Absolutely.
So you have to learn about so much.
Absolutely, it is a big thing to talk about. So what you can talk about the provider networks?
So a lot of the insurance plans have what's called a provider network. So you can go to that network because they have a contract with the insurance company.
Okay.
So if you, let's say, I'm going to throw out some names, but we have no obligations to any of them. United Healthcare, Oxford, Aetna, Cigna, these are names that you might have heard about.
Yes.
So they have a preferred provider network. So those are physicians that have contracted with them. There are facilities that have contracted with them. So if you go to them, then you're considered an in-network with that insurance. So if you have United Healthcare and you go to a United Healthcare facility, they will cover that based on the United Healthcare fees that they will cover. Now, if you go to a provider that is not part of the network, then you get what's called out-of-network benefits. And those benefits can be very little because United Healthcare wants you to go to a United Healthcare provider.
Only.
So only because that's where they're bargaining the rates and that's where they're getting the deal, the best deal. So out of network, you'll end up paying a lot out of pocket.
Yeah.
So you have to know who you can go to and who you cannot go to.
Yeah, that actually happened to me 3 weeks back. I was in Jersey and in a terrible condition. I had no option, so I really went and I just paid more than that.
Right.
But nothing to do. I mean, you know,
So when
like
you're
that
in
time,
that situation,
yeah,
right, you don't
yeah.
know where to go or what to do.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, maybe, you know, somebody just get me better. That's all I
Yeah,
want. And
yeah.
that's what you end up doing.
I wish I knew you that time. Next time anything happens like that, I'm going to
You
call
can
you,
always
Dr.
call.
Mehrotra.
You can always call.
Yes, absolutely, totally.
And that's some of the work that our foundation also does, the SKN Foundation,
Yes.
where we go out and educate about healthcare access. How do you access the healthcare system and what do you do with the healthcare system?
SKN Foundation is a big name, and we all know Dr. Naveen Mehrotra, how he worked his life, his heart out for that organization. So whoever is watching right now, who is his friends and family, they know very well what I'm talking about. I just had this chance to have a quick glance this last year to see what he does, and I am totally in love about your work, about what you do, and I just want you to continue to do that.
That's our pleasure, and definitely something to educate the community about their health.
Yes.
And that is how this series has come around, right?
Yes, totally.
So getting back to this, you know, with this whole thing about having the network, right? So in the network itself, you may have to choose a primary care physician.
Yeah.
So the primary care physician is your quote-unquote doctor who will take care of typically all aspects of coordinating your care. So if you have to go to a specialist, if you have to go to the hospital, they will help you navigate. They will say, okay, you go here, you go there, or you know, you cannot go here, you cannot go there. They will help you facilitate your care. So that is your PCP, as the term that you might have noticed, right?
Yes.
Or you can have, then they might refer you to a specialist.
Yeah.
But once again, when they refer you to a specialist, then that specialist should be part of the network. Otherwise, the insurance may not cover your visit to the specialist.
Totally. Yes.
Now, when you go to the specialist, if you have a plan that is an HMO plan, okay, then you are required to get what's known as a referral.
Yeah.
So you have to
Can
get
you explain the form of HMO? Because I really want my viewers to know it, because on the insurance card it's always written this or that, and what you're explaining, it is really good for them who are really coming in right now from India or from any other country. They can always get helped.
Right. So what they don't realize is that you're required a referral.
Yeah.
So if you are part of an HMO plan, there's an HMO plan, there's a PPO plan. So HMO means a health maintenance organization. PPO is a preferred provider organization. So with a PPO plan, you may not need a referral. Okay. Then there's something else called an EPO plan. So there's many different plans that the insurance can have. It is your responsibility to know, does your insurance require a referral before you go to the specialist?
I understand.
Okay, so if you need a referral, it's basically paperwork that the PCP has to do. Too many acronyms.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So
Yeah.
you have to get a referral from your PCP to go see the specialist. And if your specialist is not part of the network, you're stuck with an out-of-network cost sharing that you have to pay. And that can be quite high. So the doctor's going to treat you. It's your responsibility to know what your plan covers or doesn't cover. So if you look at it similarly like an auto insurance, okay, the auto insurance, you have to know what your auto insurance plan is. You cannot say to the doctor, oh, I don't know. I didn't know. How come you billed me this much? That's because it's your responsibility.
Yeah.
So you have to find your PCP if it's required. Then, if you need to go to the specialist, you have to know who you can go to. If a referral is required, you go ahead and do that. Then, if you, for some chance, need to go to the hospital or the emergency room, you need to know what it is. So, some people might just pick up and say, okay, I've got a cold. I can't make it to the doctor's office. I'll just go to the emergency room because the emergency room is open 24 hours.
Yeah.
But you can't do that because then the emergency room visits might carry a much higher copayment or a much higher obligation. But that is what you need to know. Is it something that can wait, or is it something that you do need to go to the emergency room for? So if you have a laceration, you have a broken bone, something that cannot wait, an open wound, something, you have to go to the emergency room, you'll go. And then you'll deal with what you have to pay for, right? So
that is a quick answer, and that is a quick solution. But would love to know that a lot of time we talk about insurance premiums and all right, the premium is getting high, and these days a lot of things are happening. So what is your quote about that?
So what you need to understand is, okay, there is a premium, right? So that's a monthly premium that you pay just like you would for an auto insurance. And what that covers are your benefits. You need to know what your benefits are. So a lot of the insurances now, to bring down the premium, have shifted the cost to you, and you may not realize it. So they say you have to meet a deductible, annual deductible, before your benefits kick in. Okay. Now, what that deductible is, you have to know. This is crazy. I mean, it is a lot of burden on our viewers or anybody who's accessing the healthcare system.
Oh, okay.
Because your deductible that you have to meet might be $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 before your insurance premium, before your insurance benefits kick in. So you think that you have health insurance, but you go to the doctor's office and you get stuck with a huge bill. That's because your deductible has not been met yet. So does your deductible ask you to cover that for outpatient care, or is it a deductible for inpatient care?
Okay.
Okay. So if anybody's getting really confused with all this information I'm sending out there, please go ahead and ask those questions.
I don't think so, and I would love to talk to our viewers, and I would love to let them know that you can call us right now. I mean, the numbers are on your screen, and you can call us right now, and you can talk to us. You can ask Dr. Mehrotra hundreds of things, and he's right here. He's going to come here every Wednesday to talk to all of you regarding our health. So anyway, so yes.
So you need to know that there is a deductible in your plan.
Yes.
If your deductible is not, your outpatient visits are not part of the deductible, then they will cover whatever it is.
So can you just let our viewers know one thing, that when somebody is getting a new job, so that time they will give you some of the names like this. So what should they look for to get a proper health care? So then they don't have to run anywhere.
So they need to understand, okay, just because the premium is low, it's not the first thing they should jump to. They should see what does it actually give you as a benefit. If you have some sort of a chronic health problem, you may need to visit the hospital much more frequently. You may need to go to the lab much more frequently. You may have to pay a higher premium to get better benefits. And it is in your interest to do that. If you're pretty healthy, you're young, you know that most probably you're not going to have a lot of health issues, you're taking a gamble, you can take a cheaper plan. But once again, you have to know, what does the plan cover? What is it that they cover for outpatient services? What is it that they cover for inpatient services? What is it that they cover for lab services? And what is it that they cover for any sort of chronic services?
Wow.
Okay, so it's not just looking at, the copayment is only $10.
Yeah, $10, yeah.
Okay, so the copay is maybe only for your primary care physician visit, but if you go to the specialist, the copayment might be $50. If you go to the emergency room, the copayment might be $100. If you go to the hospital, the copayment might be $250, right? So any of those things that you may have to first pay, and now if there's a annual deductible, then you have to meet that so the copay doesn't come in.
Okay.
So if the doctor charges $400 and your annual deductible is $1,500, that $400 will go towards your deductible, and you have to pay that out of pocket and keep on making sure that you meet that $1,500 in the year.
All the time.
Until your insurance benefits kick in.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
So this is a little complex, and you need to make sure you understand that. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck with bills, and you'll say, I had insurance, what happened, right?
Totally.
So,
a lot of time that happens, actually. A lot of time that happens because a lot of people doesn't have any idea or any clues about it, since you are inside of it. So
even I don't have it. So
oh my God. That is okay. All right.
Okay.
So all right. Yeah. Go ahead.
So talking about this, right? So it's quite complicated. Even the lab services, right? So a lot of times your physician is going to send you off for labs. There are contracted labs that you can go to and you may not be able to go to. You end up in the wrong lab, you will then end up with an out-of-network cost sharing. So you have to know which is your contracted lab. Same thing with x-rays. Where can you go for x-rays? Where can you go for CAT scans? Where can you go for MRIs? Things that you normally don't think about. let's say you get into an accident. What happens after you get into the accident? You need physical therapy. Okay, if you need physical therapy, what are your physical therapy benefits? So if you are going to have to pay $100 per visit for physical therapy services, and you have to go for 6 weeks, that's a lot of money. You have to make sure that you look at those things.
I'm sorry to disturb you, but I mean, one thing is kicking in my head right now. I really need to ask you that a lot of us, we bring our parents here.
Yep.
And we are always in that shock or that moment that, okay, if anything happens to them, what are you going to do? I know that a lot of visitors, insurance are there, health insurance are there, but which one is really workable or which one can help our viewers? Will you let them know?
All right, so they will have to, once again, research the plans and see what the visitor's insurance covers.
Okay.
So most of the time, I will tell anybody who's bringing in their parents or in-laws to please go ahead and get at least emergency coverage. Because when they come in here, you are responsible for them. You have to make sure that they are being covered because anything can happen to them. I have seen so many cases where their father or their father-in-law or mother, somebody ends up in the hospital and they will have to bear those costs. Now, in certain situations, based on your income, you may be able to apply for what's called charity care. Some of the hospitals, a lot of the hospitals will have a plan. You would have to speak to the social worker and see if they can go ahead and qualify you for charity care.
Okay.
But once again, there are a lot of things that come into play with that because they'll ask you for your IRS reported income, what are they doing, how did you support them, how did you get their visa, so you'll have to make sure that you can figure out what is the best strategy for your parents.
Okay.
So you have to keep that in mind.
Wow. Okay.
I'm not here to scare our viewers.
No.
I'm here because I think people might be listening to this and getting very scared, saying, "Oh my God, what's going to happen to me?"
No. It is not that because as you really explained, I mean, this thing happened to me maybe 8 years back, and 8 years or 9 years back because my family was here, and I really. Never bothered about it, so I took them to the emergency, and then I was with a load of bills, yeah.
Right.
But anyway, as you are here, I really don't want them to face those things at all.
Right. So this is for education, for everybody to be aware that these are the things that they have to look for.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of our viewers are in the IT world, and they are on contracts. One of the issues becomes health insurance, right? For them, is their contractual job going to give them health insurance or not? And they're all young families who are going to be of childbearing age, who may have kids. God forbid something happens during pregnancy. Those are things that they should be aware of to make sure that they have good health insurance coverage.
Yeah.
Most of the people think, nothing's going to happen to me, I'm okay, why should I even bother? All right,
Exactly.
so it is something that you need to be aware of.
Totally.
The other thing that I've spoken to many of our IT industry people is that, when they're going from contract to contract, they may not be aware of what's called COBRA coverage. Okay, so when you're in a job, your employer may subsidize the cost of your health insurance. That becomes your health insurance benefit.
Okay.
So if let's say your monthly premium might be really about $2,000 for a good health insurance plan for a family, $1,500 to $2,000, but you might actually only be paying $500 because your employer subsidizes that cost. And you don't realize it. You think, oh, just because I'm in the job, that's how much the insurance costs. But that's a benefit that you're getting from your employer. But now, once you lose that job and you're leaving that employer, you don't have a job, which a lot of people are in that situation where they don't, have a contract right away.
Yeah.
You have the option of buying into COBRA coverage. Most of the employers should be offering that to you.
Okay.
And that COBRA coverage can last you up to about 18 months. And you would end up paying the premium. Now, your premium may go up because now no longer is the employer subsidizing that cost. But for your safety and for your peace of mind, you should have
it.
that.
You should have it. I
Right.
mean, it is always a saying that better be safe.
Better be safe than sorry. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we've had a situation like that where one of the kids was admitted to the hospital. It was the 30th of the month. The 1st of and the 31st, they were traveling to move to their new job across the country. And on the 1st, their job was to be starting, but their health insurance coverage would not start for another 15 days or a month. So they had their kid who was admitted to the hospital. They had that coverage, but the kid was probably not going to be discharged for another few days. So those few days, the dad was asking, what should I do? What should I said, you have to make sure that you have that coverage, because you may not realize that that bill, when you get it, might be $10,000 or $5,000 or $20,000. You don't know. You can't predict. And then you're stuck.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are the things that we have to look out for.
What is a coinsurance?
So coinsurance is something that you have to pay on a percentage, which is part of the insurance plan.
All right.
So some of the insurance plans, the way they're set up is that you'll meet an annual deductible. Once you meet that deductible, you'll end up paying maybe 80, the insurance will pay 80%, you'll pay 20%, or they may pay 30%, that you have to pay. And that is your cost for the bill.
Oh, okay.
So if you have a bill for $1,000 and you have met your deductible and the insurance pays 80%, you're stuck with a $200 bill that you have to pay.
Okay.
So, you have to be aware, once again, what does your plan cover? What are your liabilities? Now, often what we'll have is, parents will say, you've submitted the bill, and they'll come back and say, oh, my insurance, this is a deductible, can you do something for it? Unfortunately, I can't.
You cannot.
It's not legal. I cannot, jeopardize my license or do anything else. If you come to me beforehand, maybe I can offer you charity care, or I can do something else along the lines, but once it's through the processing, it is what it is.
Done.
It is a
Yes.
done deal.
Yes. Okay.
So-
All right. And as you're explaining so nicely, I would ask you another thing that we were discussing before, that what is the out-of-pocket maximum that you were talking about?
So just like you have an annual deductible,
Yeah.
a lot of the insurance plans will have out-of-pocket maximum. So what that means is that is the maximum you will be liable for, and the insurance will have to pay for it. So out-of-pocket maximum, if it's $10,000 on your plan, they will cover it based on your deductible, your co-insurances, whatever it is, and then after that, that is what you have to go ahead and, the insurance will kick in and pay everything else on top of it.
I saw in New Jersey a lot of places that we can see urgent care.
Yeah.
So we know about emergencies, that what we can do over there if anything is really bad, as you're explaining before. So what is this urgent care about?
So urgent care is a place where they can probably do a little bit more complex care that you may not be able to get in a primary care physician's office,
All right.
but a little less than what you might get at the hospital.
I mean, can you explain a little bit?
So let's say you have a sprain, you need a small x-ray. If you had a small cut that may require suturing, that's something that the urgent care might be able to do. But
Okay.
once again, it's based on the capability of the urgent care, what they can do and what they cannot do. They may not be able to give you, if you have a major injury, they may not be able to do your CAT scans or your MRIs, which the hospital would then step in and do.
Okay.
But now the urgent care also gives you the option, most of the urgent cares where they have extended hours. So if your doctor's office is closed, you can go to the urgent care. But what you need to realize is that the urgent care benefits are very different in your insurance plan. So
That is what I was going to ask
so
you.
your-
That was my next
so
question to you.
if you go to the urgent care, your co-payment might be much higher. It may be at the same level as your emergency room visit, but you need to figure that out with your insurance plan. So if your physician's office is open, that's probably a better bet for you to go to. If your physician's office cannot handle it, and they recommend that you go for urgent care, you go ahead and go to the urgent care.
Okay.
But that's where you have to keep your physician involved
All right.
and make sure you ask them about everything else that needs to get done.
Okay, it is a long thing that we're really talking about. I hope that our viewers really enjoy today's conversation, and as well as, I mean, the last thing is coming in my mind that okay, insurance part is done. Okay, now we know a lot about the insurance. Now we know about HMO, PPO, and how you're gonna talk about your deductibles, how you're gonna fix yourself with the proper insurance. You know that, but how you're gonna find a good doctor? Maybe like you, Dr. Mehrotra. All right?
That's very kind of you.
Yeah, because how you know that he is the best, or I can get the best care from him, for myself, for my child, or maybe for my parents. So how we will know that, sorry, this person is totally suitable for me and my family?
So there are many ways of trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Right? Nowadays, everybody goes to Google, looks at the review, like all these restaurants. That is totally inappropriate way of doing this, right? But it is what our community does. And not just our community, I think anybody does, right? First thing they do, okay, let's Google him, let's figure out what he's all about.
No.
But you have to realize, just like any other Google review that you read, that probably somebody who's disgruntled is going to be the first one to put up a review.
I just want to say something.
Sure.
Who are coming from India, I hope that they will never do that, because in India a lot of things happen last year as well that we found out. The doctors who are sitting there and practicing, they're not doctors at all. They just did maybe some kind of diploma, and maybe they know some very little thing about it, and you are just risking your life of that.
Of course, but you will be surprised, because in India, that's one of the first things that people do.
Are you serious?
Right? Yes. It is the trend of the young and upcoming in the cities.
So
that's what they do. So I was telling you one thing not to do.
Yeah.
Right? You can search on Google for the address and the timeout and the website and so on.
Yeah.
But the reviews you really have to look at with a grain of salt, right?
Okay.
They're probably not the right things, but people do go ahead and rely on them. One good thing that somebody told me was that, oh, we read reviews. And I said, why did you come to me? They said, we read your reviews. I said, okay, but there are a lot of negative reviews. She goes, yeah, but I don't look at the negative reviews. I look at the positive reviews. And that is what people should be really doing. But there are ways to check on the background of the physician. You can look at the database at the national boards, the state board, and see if there's any sort of complaints that has been lodged against them. Then you should definitely have to talk to your neighbors and friends and see who they use. Then you have to go ahead and go to the physician's office, meet them and see what they're like. See if they match your personality. See if they're accessible to you. See if they're willing to talk to you. And if they don't, then probably not the place to be at. Okay? And then after you do a trial and error and see what happens. Everybody's bound to have a down day and a bad day, but you have to give that benefit of a doubt. But I think it's all about talking to a lot of people, doing your research where the person was trained, what their medical board review looks like, and then taking it forward.
Okay, all right. And Dr. Mehrotra, I think that we have to take our viewers' leave for tonight, and we're going to be back next Wednesday. But before that, I really want to ask you that what are your thoughts right now to, to let our viewers know about our next week, what you're going to do?
Well, I think we'll be open to that as well. If anybody has any suggestions, we'd love to have you email them to us and let us know. But definitely we'll come up with topics week to week, and hopefully it'll be something that'll be informative to you guys and that it will not overwhelm you. So
you can always mail us at ragini@manatv.net, and we would be glad to help you out. But till next Wednesday, 7:30, we have to take your leave, and be safe, be healthy, and talk to us again. Bye now.
Thank you.